Hi everyone, my name is Silkyfeather and you can call me Silky. Meetkevin has some news. Although, did you ever hear the word clickbait? I feel like I've been taken advantage of. Let's take a listen.
Today on Stimulus Checks Back, Stimulus Checks, Mark Meadows updates, and other interviews and things to report. Let's get right into these. After all, this is your Meetkevin report, where I report news that makes you money. Let's get started. All right, first things first. The IRS has given us some good news. Remember back in April and May, we all had to use that non-filers portal if you didn't file taxes to get your $500 stimulus checks for your dependents under 17 years old. Many of you commented that you missed the May 5th deadline, and the IRS has basically said, oh well, sucks for you, which is absolutely terrible. Well, finally, the IRS has caved to pressure, and anybody who is still owed their $500 for their dependents under 17 years old who received a stimulus check or was eligible for a stimulus check in the first round can now go to irs.gov/EIP, click the non-filers button, and request your $500 check for each dependent. That again is from the original round of stimulus checks. Regarding the next stimulus check, an emergency memo went out to Democratic lawmakers, and they will have an emergency briefing called tomorrow, that is Monday, at 11:30 a.m. This is going to be a caucus call to discuss the Postal Service and state of stimulus. This is now leading many people to use the hashtag caucus call. And if the thought of a caucus call stresses you out, make sure to get 2 free stocks with Weevil when you deposit $100. And of course, get life insurance, which you can get in as little as 5 minutes. Both links down below.
Let's see, yeah, so it
Also, you're
stresses me out, so I'm gonna spend
99.9%
money.
likely, you're pretty much guaranteed to see massive clickbait about, quote, passing a stimulus package tomorrow, or approved stimulus package passes tomorrow. Let's analyze where this clickbait is coming from up front so we can put this garbage nonsense out of our lives before it becomes something that creates more false hope. Because yesterday we had enough clickbaity titles with $3,400 stimulus checks going around, which obviously we debunked yesterday and is completely false. Today, Mark Meadows, White House Chief of Staff, was interviewed on CNN's State of the Union with Jake Tapper. And I know that half of you don't like CNN, but we're here for the info, right? Here's what Mark Meadows had to say. Quote, let's go ahead and get a stimulus check out to Americans. Let's make sure that small businesses are protected with an extended PPP loan. And let's put Postal Service funding in there. The White House is actually warming up more funding for the Postal Service, possibly because the Postmaster General got in there and was like, oh crap, yeah, we're out of money. And then Mark Meadows said, quote, we'll pass it tomorrow. The president will sign it. So what does this mean? Well, it means a whole lot of nothing. Literally nothing. Of course, Republicans would pass a partial bill tomorrow with their priorities. That's what Republicans want. Republicans for the last 4 months have been saying, well, we'll do a targeted bill. We'll do a targeted relief. How many times have we heard that crap? We've constantly heard that. This is not news. So literally expect that on a daily basis, Republicans are going to say, we're going to send stimulus checks, but Democrats are holding this up. And this isn't me taking sides, I just want to be as super clear with you as possible. That Republicans want a targeted bill. Democrats say, no, we want stimulus checks as well. We want PPP funding as well, but we will only do it if we get state and local government funding, amongst some other things. In fact, the easiest thing to do is take a quick peek at the flowchart and just give you a reminder of all of the priorities. I'll make this super quick. A lot of you mentioned in the comments that you appreciate this, and you subscribe to the flowchart, so thank you for subscribing. And here we go, flowchart. Okay, this is the state of stimulus right now. So we know we've got these executive orders. I'm not going to explain all this stuff. I'm only going to talk about what's in yellow. We'll keep this short. The payroll tax cut, obviously, we have problems, and it's not really actually getting implemented because people don't have certainty that it's going to get forgiven. The eviction extension, the eviction ban, we don't really have that right now. So that is likely to be in a compromise bill. I put that in orange. Things that are likely to be in a compromise bill, if we see one, are going to be in orange. These are like the very high priority items. Like fixing the enhanced unemployment. That's got to be in there because right now we've got 5 weeks of funding and honestly many states don't even think they can do it. The student loan executive order, that was good. Kudlow realizes that even the eviction ban isn't working the way they implemented it right now. Treasury Secretary Mnuchin had a little bit of a U-turn last week and said Pelosi was right about people and food insecurity. That's because 12.1% of adults live in households that don't have enough to eat at some point in a week. Like, what kind of country are we in when that happens? 20% of Americans with kids at home couldn't afford to give their children enough food. Both of these figures are up substantially from May and June. The salt tax deduction, this is a Democrat item. This is kind of where all that, like, when you hear wish list, that this is one of the places that comes from, the salt tax deduction. That's what Republicans point to. They're like, why should we bail out wealthier people who have to pay high property taxes or high state taxes, like in Texas or New York and California. State and local government funding, this is likely to be in a compromise bill of some shape or form. Remember, Democrats want $950 billion, and Republicans are willing to give $150 billion. So obviously there's still a gap between these items here. Liability protections, likely to see that in a compromise bill. I would hope that we would see funding for testing, tracing, and treatment in there, though that's not been coming up a lot. We just heard that for the Postal Service, some more funding for that might be in there. We know that Treasury Secretary Mnuchin has said we're not stuck at $1 trillion, so that's good. We know that the $105 billion for schools is in there, and schools are now open, so it'd be nice to get this. The stimulus checks are in there, or should be in there. That'd be $1,200 stimulus checks, with $500 checks for dependents with no age limit this time. We're not sure if some of these things are going to make it, like the employee retention credit, work opportunity tax credit, gig worker deductions here from companies. The PPP fund, very likely to be in there. Whether or not this meal deduction or working capital loan or all these other miscellaneous things are going to make it, nobody knows. Mortgage forbearance, please, I beg of you, if you have a mortgage, take mortgage forbearance. You're just increasing your emergency fund. There's really no reason not to take it unless you want to refinance anytime soon. Which most of us are like, well, okay, maybe if I don't want to refinance, I'll take a year of free payments. If you're at all insecure about your job or your hours getting cut or anything, take mortgage forbearance. You may as well. When hedge funds are getting bailed out billions of dollars by the PPP loan, you may as well take mortgage forbearance. All right, let's move on. That's the state of stimulus and what we're likely to see. But let's go into some more updates. Kamala Harris, again, called for an immediate end to evictions. Correctly, though, not the sort of half end to eviction. And I know sometimes when I kind of just report what's actually being said, sometimes people are like, oh, Kevin, you're a Republican showing. Oh, Kevin, you're a Democrat showing. I can't help what you gather when I just read what's happening. That's what she said.
Who cares?
Kamala Harris also said she wants $2,000 per month in stimulus payments. Okay.
Yeah, so did Mark Cuban.
But again, Kamala Harris's plans are probably unlikely to see the light of day unless Kamala Harris and Biden actually get into office. And remember, they won't actually have power until January, February, if they do. And if we don't have a vaccine, then we might see some of those things. But honestly, I think everybody's just hoping at this point, praying, that please, can we just have a vaccine to end this and, bail us out of this? It feels like we need right now is a serious bailout of this pandemic. That'd be nice. On voter fraud, Jake Tapper said in the same interview with Mark Meadows this morning that there's no evidence of voter fraud. To this, Mark Meadows said there's no evidence that there's not voter fraud. This, by the way, is a classic logical fallacy. This is called shifting the burden of proof. And shifting the burden of proof works like this. The fallacy, at least that Mark Meadows used, sounds like this, and let's kind of teach you that. The fallacy goes, since fraud in mail-in ballots is not yet disproven, there must be fraud in mail-in ballots. No, it don't work that way. It's not a good argument. And again, I'm not trying to bag on Mark Meadows here. I'm just, all I'm trying to say is, Mark, dude, you're the White House Chief of Staff. You should have a better answer. Because when some 28-year-old dude on YouTube is calling you out on logical fallacies, that's a problem, man. I mean, come on. This is like Logic 101 in your first quarter of college. On COVID, Kamala Harris, the VP nominee, calls for a nationwide mask mandate. Right now, we know that about 95% of Democrats are pro-masking and about 56% of Republicans are pro-masking. So there's about that 45% gap with Republicans and about 5% gap with Democrats. We're not comfortable with mask mandates. COVID cases are at 55,348, and searches, this is my favorite part, folks. Drum roll for my favorite part. Searches for coronavirus symptoms are down over 50% since mid-July. But not only are searches for coronavirus and COVID-19 symptoms down over 50% from mid-July, but the same thing is true for COVID and coronavirus and COVID-19 testing. Search results are down, or searches for, not searches, searches for, are down over 50% since mid-July. This is really good, especially at a time when we're worried, like, is there just less testing happening? Like, what's happening? Because positivity rates are up. CNBC also found that 40% of test results take too long to actually help us try to prevent the spread of COVID. There you have the news for this morning. We'll see you again later today. Thank you so much for watching.
Yo, that was just, I knew it was clickbait because at the top of his thing, he has stimulus check. Passing tomorrow? Question mark. As he talks about, they're going to be clickbait. Alright. I know. You see a tree up here that looks very, very sad. Watch my video on the loving tree. That's what I'm going to do next. Bye. Thanks for stopping by. This is Silkyfeather signing off. Sunday night.